Today on Investigate TV Plus, a deadly danger hiding in plain sight.
You have 100% respect for this dam and its capabilities to absolutely annihilate a human life.
Low-head dams sit in rivers and streams nationwide, posing a threat to unknowing boaters and swimmers alike. We explore how some states fail to warn and protect them from seemingly peaceful waters.
Plus, first-time homebuyers find themselves in a face-off with national companies.
All the properties that we would have liked, they were bought up, and then we see them a couple months later for rent.
We investigate the spike in corporate landlords and how they could reshape the housing market.
And a chance encounter at church turned into a desperate gamble at the hospital. How a bite from a bat led to a fight for survival that pushed medical boundaries and defied all odds.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Calm, beautiful waters on the surface of a river or stream could hide a deadly secret beneath. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Low-head dams are designed to control the flow of water, but they create a problem that's claimed hundreds of lives. And it's a risk that can be eliminated.
Investigative reporter Josie Sturman discovers many states are failing to do so.
Bossier Dam is one that's very difficult to see or hear. It's much like an infinity pool. The dam sneaks up on you. It is quiet, it is ominous. But by the time they got upon the water, got to the dam, it was too late. Sarah, we think, went first. Lauren went second. The rest of them followed suit, and 10 people and a dog came up, and Lauren and Sarah did not. We walked the river until 3 a.m., calling her name, hearing the water. I never thought that I would have to pull my daughter out of this river 2 days after she went missing because of a dam like Bossier.
Christina Brockwell's pain can be as invisible and ferocious as the water tumbling just under the surface below this dam in Virginia, the one that trapped her daughter Lauren in its current and rolled her lifeless.
And Lauren's not here. And if she was, she'd sit in this chair and she would fight to make sure that none of her friends or no one else ever had this happen.
What happened to Lauren Winstead could happen to anyone. The river she loved and spent countless happy days on was hiding a bold and blatant killer in plain sight. Like many people across the country, Lauren was unaware of a danger lurking downstream, a man-made structure found in rivers, creeks, and streams meant to control the flow of water. Officially, they're known as low-head dams. They become drowning machines.
Then the only thing you can do to save lives is make sure that you get rid of the risk.
That risk exists pretty much anywhere in the country where there's a low-head dam, but there's no national inventory from the federal government, and less than a third of states are actually tracking where they're located. So independent researchers have been the ones to pinpoint at least 13,000 low-head dams across the country. So let's go down to the ground level to see how they're so deceptively dangerous.
It's almost like being in a washing machine where this is continuously turning you over. So you may get up here and be able to get a gulp of air, and it brings you right back down.
Pushed down under an extremely powerful boil that Tom Smith knows even the strongest swimmers are often powerless to fight. As executive director of the American Society of Civil Engineers, he's an expert at understanding the mechanics that make low-head dams almost undefeatable.
And just look at how fast the water on the surface is moving back towards the structure.
This demonstration from Brigham Young University illustrates exactly how it happens.
And when we see the number of drownings, the flags need to go up. But this is a real issue. And at a minimum, we have got to make sure that people are educated on how severe this is.
I don't care who you are when you're on this job, you have 100% respect for this dam and its capabilities to absolutely annihilate a human life.
Brian Enterline has had more than 2 decades to fully grasp the power of a low-head dam. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where he's fire chief, has the distinction of having the deadliest low-head dam in the country, with at least 30 deaths, one as recently as April 2023.
Why is it still here?
To take the dam out, to totally eliminate the dam, the water level here in Harrisburg would be unnavigable with any type of boat.
Deadly low-head dams remain in place nationwide for many reasons: to maintain water levels or to deal with recreation or environmental needs. Some are decades old, no longer needed, but with owners that are private, unknown, or in dispute. So controversy and the cost of removal or remediation are also key factors in why some are kept around, even as the body count increases.
Our national investigative team looked at 25 communities across the country with the deadliest low-head dams, accounting for more than 220 deaths. We could only confirm about a third of the problematic dams in these areas had been removed altogether or had major changes that eliminated the risk. But those permanent solutions we found, some of them took as long as a decade to complete.
In Maryland, one low-head dam removal project at a site with 9 deaths took 7 years start to finish, with at least 1 fatality added as officials worked through the planning and permitting. Enterline says Harrisburg's been talking about options to save lives as long as he's been on the force, including large permanent buoys that could be a last resort for anyone heading toward the dam. For now, the city relies on temporary buoys Enterline showed us. They're put in the water every year. Still, he says he's seen many people ignore them.
And it's amazing to me that when you're looking downstream, you don't see any trace of this thing at all.
No, you don't. It is just like the horizon, right?
In Pennsylvania, signage warning about low-head dams and their dangers is required by state law. But our investigation found that's not universal nationwide, even in states where people have died, including Virginia, where more than 20 people, including Lauren Winstead, have drowned at low-head dams. We're told concerns about responsibility for the dam or liability if something happens can fuel resistance to simply letting people know the risk.
You cannot just throw the dice and chance whether or not someone's going to encounter this and possibly die there.
After her daughter's death, Christina Brockwell fought to get signage in the last place Lauren could have come out of the water before that friendly float turned all their lives upside down.
She would 100% support the changes at the river that we've made so far, and she would want to continue until that dam was not so deadly.
Federal lawmakers are also trying to get a handle on how many of these deadly dams exist across the country.
Legislation that would include low-head dams in a national inventory has been proposed. In the meantime, we do have a state-by-state breakdown of the estimated number of low-head dams. You can find it on InvestigateTV.com. Just search drowning machines.
Still ahead, redefining what it means to produce world-class coffee. From providing homes for wildlife to an environmentally friendly product, see how a coffee farm is crafting the perfect blend of quality and sustainability.
Plus, corporations are taking over rental homes in major U.S. cities.
They have deep pockets, and most of them use cash offers.
We uncover the impact it has on first-time home buyers. High housing costs are putting a strain on people nationwide, and millions of potential buyers have been sidelined by elevated home prices and interest rates.
If you're a first-time home buyer, real estate experts say you could be competing with national corporations. In the wake of the late 2000s financial crisis, institutional investors emerged, bulk purchasing foreclosed homes at auction and converting them into rental housing. More than a decade later, the Government Accountability Office finds in many cities these investors have a large portion of single-family rental homes.
Investigative reporter Naomi Coles dug deeper into property records, showing just how often these companies are winning their bids in Charlotte.
This neighborhood's really quiet.
Stephen Barber and his wife moved around the Charlotte area a few times before settling here on Mineral Ridge Way more than 2 years ago.
We really wanted to buy, but by the time we were ready. We had a real estate agent, all the properties that we would have liked, including this, they were bought up, and then we see them a couple months later for rent.
Starter homes bought by giant national companies like the one he rents from now.
Fully half of the homes along this quiet street in North Charlotte are owned by these national corporations.
A new government report finds Charlotte's ranked number 3 from the top of 20 cities studied, with 18% of its single-family rental homes owned by these companies.
How does that impact the first-time home buyer, the people who are just looking to have their own home?
So it's obviously not very good news for them if they really want to buy, right? So because you're competing with these large institutions, they have deep pockets, and most of them use cash offers.
Yun-Chan Chu directs UNC Charlotte's Childress Klein Center for Real Estate. Their studies find 125 people move to Charlotte every day, and Chu believes this trend comes with positive benefits too.
They find that single-family rental allows a lot of the households, especially the kids, to access high-quality schools.
The trend towards national companies getting into the local landlord business started during the Great Recession.
A lot of these institutional investors, for example, Blackstone bought a lot of these houses in foreclosure auctions and then turn them into rentals.
But the trend has become most obvious in Sunbelt cities, like Charlotte and Atlanta, which ranks at the top nationwide. Barber is grateful, though. He gets the comfort of a quiet, family-centric neighborhood at the price of a large apartment.
It kind of sucks that we want to buy, but can't in any capacity. But then, we're just blessed to have a home and have a nice home with great neighbors and a quiet neighborhood.
The Government Accountability Office points to another benefit of institutional investors. They are able to buy homes that require substantial repair, a cost that's often out of reach for many home buyers. And taking a closer look at the cities with the highest number of nationally owned rental homes, Atlanta takes the top spot, followed by Jacksonville with more than 20%. Then Charlotte, Tampa, and Phoenix round out the top 5.
Still to come, celebrating a major milestone.
It's almost surreal to think, 20 years.
How the first person to survive rabies without the vaccine continues to inspire hope decades later.
But first, we catch a flight to Costa Rica and get a tour of a coffee farm that just might grow the beans for your morning cup of joe.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. Okay, one of us up here drinks enough coffee for 2 of us every day.
Who could that be?
Who could that be?
I'm down, though, from 5 cups to about 1 or 2.
Okay, so you're scaling back.
I'm scaling back.
I am 0.
Really?
Diet Coke, water.
Okay.
Wine on the weekends.
Well, I do a little Diet Coke too, but mostly coffee.
Okay, mostly coffee. Well, guess what? 67% of American adults drink coffee daily, more than any other beverage, including tap or bottled water.
But climate change, disease, and diminishing natural resources have made the business of coffee farming more and more difficult. In order to keep up with demand, Costa Rica's first and largest coffee farm had to find eco-friendly solutions.
Reporter Jared Dillingham takes us on a tour and explains how the beans become your morning brew.
Boy, they are really proud of their coffee here in Costa Rica, and I want to show you around one of the best coffee tours you can go on if you're in the country. We're in Aguirres, which is about 2 hours from San Jose, and what makes this the best? Well, it was also the first. That one right above the door there means this was the first mill in the country. After breakfast with the staff and a quick horseback riding lesson, we set out over the sprawling 2,300-acre farm. It's Costa Rica, so of course even the coffee farms here have beautiful waterfalls. Aguirres means tree of life, and its emblem is the giant tree towering above the farm, kind of like the tree of life in the Avatar movies. Aguirres is proud of their Rainforest Alliance certification and the steps they've made towards sustainability and biodiversity. From above, you could see the coffee trees are not planted in perfect rows here. They're all broken up by taller native trees. They provide shade for the coffee plants. They drop seeds and branches and lure more birds and animals, all of which help to enrich the soil naturally over time. All of the farm work here is done by hand. Harvest season sees an influx of workers from surrounding villages in this mountainous part of central Costa Rica. They're paid cash daily and covered by health insurance. They're picking red cherries off the plants, which are then sorted and dried in a tumbler and then warmed in a furnace. But a lot of the coffee beans here go through a more environmentally friendly process.
The company of Aquiaris was the first carbon neutral coffee company in Costa Rica.
Aquiaris achieved carbon neutral or even negative status years ago from the government. It's from a combination of the oxygen created by all the trees planted and also how they've cut back on emissions. Rather than using the furnace all the time, many batches of coffee beans are naturally dried by the sun in greenhouses, which have a fruity aroma inside from the cherries oozing over the course of a few weeks. After the coffee beans dry, they're sorted and bagged and ready to be shipped out.
The coffee beans grown here go to smaller companies all over the world to be sold under different brands, but chances are your next Starbucks or Nespresso came from this very farm.
The shade from different trees may have also lured new birds to the farm. The staff say the number of bird species increased from a couple of dozen to more than 140.
Up next, a treatment that had never been done before ended up saving a teen's life.
They didn't know if from the coma if I was going to be me or if I was going to be a vegetable or anything.
Now she's sharing her story of survival that's helped other rabies patients. If you're exposed to rabies, the CDC explains your best chance of survival is a series of vaccines that must be administered quickly after exposure. But rabies almost always results in death if you do not receive the proper care.
20 years ago, when that window to get the shot closed, a Wisconsin woman's life hung in the balance and left doctors with an impossible choice that would ultimately make medical history.
Reporter Tim Elliott explains how she became the first person to survive rabies without receiving the vaccine.
Ready, come on now.
Gina Giese is a kid at heart.
There you go.
She works at the Children's Museum of Fond du Lac.
Good job.
Molding young minds at play.
I actually really like working with kids.
Today, Giese is a happy and healthy mother of 3.
I've always wanted to be a mom, and now I am one, and it's fantastic. I love my kids so much.
But when she was a teenager 20 years ago,
it's almost surreal to think, 20 years.
She came within hours of death.
My life changed completely when I got sick.
It was 2004, and Giese was 15 years old. She was at church with her mother when suddenly a bat started flying around.
It flew to the back of the church, and one of the ushers swatted it down.
Giese scooped up the stunned bat and took it outside, a decision that changed her life forever.
It did manage to stretch over and bite me in the finger, and that hurt.
Giese pulled the bat's fang out of her finger. She went home and washed the microscopic wound.
The mark on my finger was literally just a pinprick. I mean, there wasn't bleeding, it wasn't open at all, so we just cleaned it with peroxide and kind of left it.
She didn't think much about the bat bite, but about 3 weeks later, she started to get sick.
Saturday, I woke up, I could not get out of bed.
Giese came to St. Agnes Hospital in Fond du Lac, where doctors were stumped. She was eventually brought to Children's Hospital of Wisconsin in Wauwatosa.
Well, I thought she was going to die. That's what they all did.
Dr. Rodney Willoughby confirmed the diagnosis. Giese had rabies.
So I didn't think she had it, but then as she got here, she got progressively worse, and it started looking more and more like it might be real.
Dr. Willoughby says at this point, it was too late for the vaccine.
Most people die within 2-3 days of presentation, and it's really 100% fatal.
So Dr. Willoughby decided to put Giese in a coma, basically disconnecting her brain from her body. It was a move that had never been done for a rabies patient, a first of its kind in the world.
Most rabies patients die because the brain overstimulates the heart and causes it to stop. Whenever you improvise, odds are against you. So I was very worried.
Gizi was in a coma for the next 14 days.
They didn't know if from the coma, if I was going to be me or if I was going to be a vegetable or anything.
But she did wake up and slowly came back to life.
I was basically a newborn baby at the age of 15. I couldn't do anything.
And that's when Gizi's will to survive kicked in.
I don't quit. I mean, I guess it's personal stubbornness. The road to recovery was very long and painful.
Gizi is now known the world over for being the first person to ever survive rabies without receiving the life-saving vaccine.
They don't realize it's me when they meet me, and then they find out and they're like, "You're that girl." And I'm like, yes, I am. I can just cut them off. I know what you're gonna say.
She's done everything that you'd want for any of your patients, so it's just a total delight.
Are we there?
Gizi is sharing her story to help others who may be facing impossible odds.
You know, I never gave up. I always wanted to try and to find that thing that you believe in and never let it go.
According to Dr. Willoughby, since the Gizi case in 2004, 18 people worldwide have survived rabies with what's now called the Milwaukee Protocol, which involves being placed into a coma.
While humans can be infected by raccoons, skunks, and foxes, rabid bats are the biggest risk. The CDC reports 7 out of 10 Americans who die from rabies were infected by bats. And you can learn more about viral disease and the life-saving vaccine on InvestigateTV.com. Just search cost of rabies.
All right, that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, school shootings leave many students feeling unsafe.
I'm not aware of any other district in the state of Tennessee that has anything of this magnitude.
An in-depth look at a potential security solution already in place in one district.